This 10-minute video is a short clip taken from the hour-long training that we did for the IFR Mastermind. To become a member of the IFR Mastermind, check the link in the description below.
Holds made easy. The goal for today is teaching holds in a way that you can understand and memorize in the airplane. If you want to figure out how do I hold, you first have to understand where you're holding. So I'm going to draw a dot here. This dot represents our holding point. We need to hold at this VOR. In a hold, all you're doing is finding a VOR, selecting a specific radial on that VOR, whatever it is, and then fly this radial inbound, and then we simply turn around and fly this way until we're far enough to turn back in to that same radial that we have right here. That's the whole point, right? A hold is really simply a perpetual course reversal. We're just trying to maintain this line to this VOR. And the only way we can do that is when we get on this line, we simply turn back around the other direction, fly until we're far enough away to where we can intercept back to right here, and then turn inbound. How do we fly this, right? Draw the dot that represents your VOR, and then draw a line from that dot that represents the 180 radial. So this is 180. And then I want you to draw an arrow at the top of that line pointing at the VOR. This is your holding point and radial. All you care about as a pilot is the distance or time from here to here. And of course, the direction being 180 from. That's all you care about, is that line right there. Our job as pilots is simply to get to this radial. Once we're on this radial and we get to the VOR, we'll turn around and we'll fly this direction for as long as we need to until it's time to turn back around, inbound, and join our radial. And then we fly it in. A perpetual course reversal. All we're doing is getting on a radial. Once we hit the VOR and it flips from a to a from, we turn around to go back to the beginning of the radial. We're simply going to fly this outbound until we get to the point where we turn back in. Now, the point where we turn back in is dependent on how long the radial that we're holding on is, okay? The radial that we're holding on, in this case, is the 180 radial, and we're below 14,000 feet. So this is going to be a 1 minute leg from here to here. So normally, if there's no wind, the flag flips. We fly for 1 minute. After 1 minute, we'll simply turn her back in and join our radial. We're holding on the 180 radial, which is going to be a 360 inbound. Here is how you visualize your hold on a CDI. We are going to the VOR, inbound 270, which means we're on the 090 radial right now. Draw a dot in the middle of your CDI. Draw a line that goes from your CDI to the radial you're holding on, in this case 210, and then draw a pointer back at the middle. Visualize that right turn just like that. That's what it looks like on your CDI. You're wondering, how do I enter? Very simple. What is the easiest way to join this procedure? Looks to me that the easiest thing for me to do is to fly to the VOR, then turn outbound for 1 minute, and then swing back in. Just like that. The center of the CDI here, that's the VOR. So go to the VOR, then fly up out on that radial. This would be a parallel entry for the purpose of this 330 radial. I start in the middle. I draw a line to 330, draw an arrow pointing back at the middle. I'm doing a right hand pattern. I draw an arrow, goes like this, and a line goes like this. That's my hold visualization. So what's the easiest way to enter this? This is going to be a teardrop, because the easiest thing for me to do, that is the most practical, is going to be to simply offset 30 degrees, fly outbound for a minute, and then swing a 180 and join the radial in. All I'm trying to do is get from here to the VOR. Do whatever entry allows you to get from here to here the easiest. Same radial, but left hand. What does this look like now? In this case, the easiest thing for me to do is fly to the VOR, fly outbound for 1 minute, swing back in, and join. That's going to be a parallel entry. What do we do to join this radial the easiest way possible? That's the whole point. You guys are all familiar with this one. It's really complicated and it's really hard to visualize this. My suggestion is don't even look at this diagram. It's just confusing. All you need to think about is what are the 3 ways that we enter holds, and then which one is the easiest based on where I am right now. Okay, I got 270 radial. In this case, the air traffic controller said 270 radial. We go out 270, draw a line in. Right turn, that's going to be just like this. So in this case, how do I enter this hold, right? Super simple. I'm already coming in on the 090 radial. I'm practically already on the 270 radial now. So I'm just going to go straight in, just like this. And this is where you have an option. Most GPSs will say it's best to do a teardrop here. Some will say you can do a parallel. My personal opinion, I prefer parallel entries. What I would do is I would cross that VOR. I would fly outbound for 1 minute, keep a straight line, and then I would do one continuous turn back in to rejoin. And that's how I would enter that hold. Let's do the 185. So I start right here and I go 185, just like that. Draw the arrow in. Let's do left turns for this one. So that's going to be this. How do I enter this? For those of you who said it was going to be a teardrop, you would be correct. I would do this from a teardrop. Out 30 degrees for a minute or however long, and then I would just turn back in and rejoin it. If you're below 14,000, it's a minute. If you're above 14,000, it's a minute and a half, unless otherwise published or advised by ATC. If air traffic control ever gives me a hold, here's what I do. I draw a dot on a piece of paper. I draw a radial that they want me to hold on. Let's say they want me to hold on the 310 radial. I draw a line out to 310, then I draw a line pointing towards the VOR. If they didn't give me left or right, this is standard right turn, standard minute legs, then I just simply draw this like this. And now I have it visualized. So now I say, okay, this is what they want me to do. Now, where am I coming from, right? Hopefully I know where I am in relation to the VOR at this point. That's as simple as simply tuning your VOR to a 2 indication. If you tune to a 2 indication, you'll know what radial you're on. For example, let's say we were told to hold on a 310 radial, and it looks like this, right? If I go back to my CDI and I turn my OBS knob until it centers on a 2 indication, in this case, we're centered on a 270 indication, then what I'm going to do is the same thing that I just did a minute ago. I draw in the middle of my CDI. I draw out to 310, just like this, draw an arrow, start my outbound turn, and now I know what kind of entry I'm going to be doing, which in this case is a teardrop. The one thing you need to know right now is center the CDI, draw a line to the radial, point an arrow in, draw your turn, and then figure out how to enter it. Here's your VOR. You're going to hold on the 120 radial, just like that, standard right turns. You're coming in from the south, right? You hit the VOR. This is a direct entry, right? This is the 120 radial outbound. When you hit the VOR, at this point, you're just going to fly a 120 heading. And you're going to fly that for a minute, and then you're going to turn back in and intercept. The heading that you're going to intercept on is going to be the opposite of 120, whatever that is. 300. Yeah, that's right. Let's say you're coming in from this direction right here. What you're going to do is you're going to fly to the VOR, and then you're going to turn to a heading of 120, and you're going to fly 120 for 1 minute. And then you're going to loop back around, intercept the radial. You're going to turn more than 180 degrees, right? You're probably going to turn down to a heading of a good 45-degree intercept angle. But once you hit that, you'll join the radial back in, just like that. And let's say you're coming in from this direction, like this. You're going to hit the VOR, and then you're going to figure out what is 30 degrees off of 120. And the answer is 90, right? So you would fly a heading of 90 right here for a minute, and then you would turn back and join the radial inbound. Listen to me carefully. This is how you calculate the wind correction in a hold. On the inbound, note the wind correction angle. If the inbound course is 360 and my heading here is 005, then my wind correction angle is 5 degrees. The trick is to triple the wind correction angle on the outbound. What does that mean? 5 degrees times 3 is 15. So what you're going to do is when you turn outbound, instead of going to 180, go 15 degrees less, which is 165. A 165 heading for about a minute. When you hit the end of that minute, turn back in to join the radial. Now, this section here is wider than this section up here because right here, you have a headwind slowing you down. But out here, you have a tailwind pushing you along. Let's say the wind is coming from this direction. All right. Our VOR is right here. Inbound is right here. And our inbound radial is 360. And our wind correction angle here, 355 or something. Take your wind correction angle on the inbound times 3. So we'd be blown far away because of the tailwind. And what we would do is we would turn into the wind in this case. So we'd add 15 degrees to what we'd fly on the outbound. So we'd actually fly heading of 195. We'd fly that for our minute or whatever. You may even fly it for more than a minute because you have a slight headwind component here, right? So you might even fly like a minute 15 or something like that. But you'd fly outbound for 195 for however long you need to, and then you would turn inbound and join the radial. It's that easy. Don't get too worried about how pretty it is joining. Your number one job is get to the radial. Outside of that, nothing else matters. Your job, find the VOR, find the radial, get to it. When that means you cross the VOR and you're going outbound, fly out long enough until you can go back in. If you have to do some wind correction and do this, then do what you got to do. I don't care. Get to that radial, stay on the correct side of that radial. If you happen to blow past a little bit because of the wind, that's okay. You still got some protection over here, non-holding side, but get back to that radial and do everything you can to make that radial start here for you and end here for you.